Here we are. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a long time since I've put any directed videos back up on YouTube. They've been mostly ones that I've taken from Facebook streams, but I decided to have a real look at all my social media. There's so much out there, it's a bit overwhelming really, and you can't do everything. So I've decided that I'm going to put some nice shortish videos up on YouTube, hopefully kind of taster videos, get you going videos, a few ideas videos, maximum 30 minutes, hopefully shorter, sort of 10, 15, 20. So there's enough to watch. You know, I find a 5-minute video just irritating, to be honest, because it's just a quick do and there's not enough there. So enough to watch, but not so much you kind of allocate half the day to watch it. So I'm hoping to be doing that. And over on Facebook, I do streams, but they're mostly for classes. So this I kind of think will be hopefully a good way forward. So we'll see anyway. And I'll be doing a mixture of, increasingly, I'm finding that I want to work with paper and collage as much as I do with textiles, and not necessarily always with stitch. So there'll be a mixture of videos. Some will be paper and collage, some will be adding stitch, some won't. So we'll just see how it all goes. So I thought I'd start off. I've been doing some papers here. For some work that I'm doing with a theme of mid-century modern, mainly fabrics, but I've also become very interested in other mid-century modern design. Some of the pottery and things I think is really fascinating. So I've started off, I've got a sketchbook that I'm working through, etc., and I've kind of been focusing in a little bit on jugs and pots. So I have a session with the jelly plate to make myself some materials, to do some collages, to try out designs for that. And these are those materials. I use the jelly plate with masks to prepare all of these. So let's have a bit of a look at what I've got. I'll just put those underneath for a minute. I did some where I focused in on making sort of whole images like these. So this one here, I've got a couple of pots and some leaves in. These are taken from a vintage fabric. It's one by Tom Mellor, I believe. No, it's not one by Tom Mellor. That's a different one. It's a different piece of fabric, but it's a piece of Heels fabric, and it's beautiful. So I've taken some imagery from it, drawn it myself, you know, so that it's my version. And this will change more as I carry on. But been printing some pots, and I've tried layering this technique of layering paints onto the jelly plate and pulling one big image. I'm not sure whether I like it or not. Sometimes it seems to obliterate it all a bit, and sometimes I'm not sure I can actually see what I'm aiming for, because I'd rather build up the layers of image perhaps on my paper. But anyway, I've had a few tries here, and this was one I did on black, and in this case it just disappeared. I lost the whole image. I just got black with kind of vague shades, but then I've gone back over it with my jelly plate again, printed again, another image here, so all the black showing through the texture where these leaves have been on the jelly plate. So I'm really pleased with that. I think that looks really nice. So I like that. So I didn't like the original technique, but I liked what I ended up with, and I've used stencils and other things over the top, and I've then built up layers on top of my black mistake. This one was another dark one that I did on the plate. I got a bit more print on this one, but I've still worked back into it a bit, and I think it probably needs a bit more. But I always put extra elements around on my papers so that I've got a lot when I come to collage with them. You know, if I cut this element out, I've got plenty of stuff on the rest of this paper to use that's going to coordinate with my collages. These I love. These are some ones done not with layers, but with me building up layers myself. So I've got a pot, I've got a stencil of some, this was a mask, this is a stencil, which I've built up again, and I just think these are beautiful. Love the background colours in some of these, and a lot of these ones with whole imagery, you know, that one definitely I will just frame up as is. I might work a little bit on that pot just to bring up a few, you know, I might work into it a little bit with mixed media, but I'm not going to stitch on that. It's on cartridge paper, and I really like it. I don't think it needs stitch. This was one done with that layered technique. You know, if you want to see that, there's masses of videos. If you put layering on the jelly plate, you'll get loads of them. I'm really, because I use dye over my images, it's not something I particularly want to do. I get my layers by working paint and then dye. So I've kind of got mixed feelings, but this one worked reasonably well. I have gone back around the edges of the pot to make it show a bit more, and I will do the same with these leaves, but it's quite nice. It's on a white background, and you can see, although I've added some Robin Eggs blue dye all the way around this, I haven't got any of it into this, which is kind of disappointing to me, because I do love the look that you get on here, where the dye starts peeping through the gaps. You can see it's really beautiful where that dye comes through, and I can't get that with these fully layered images. So, you know, we'll see how that one goes. This one, this is another one that was a fully layered image on this side, and I do like this one, and I've managed to get a bit of the yellow dye to go through a few gaps to kind of tint that a little bit. I've added a lot back on top of this though to bring it back up again. You know, I've added a new pot, so there's a double pot. I've gone back over the leaves to bring them up to get a bit of vivacity. So I really like that one. This one was done just on the jelly plate, one layer, perhaps two layers. I think I've done the pot, then the leaves, I'm not sure, and then put that on and dyed over. This was one done with roses in a pot. I mean, just about see it's roses in a pot, I think, can't you? I'm just trying to get the angle of the camera. There we go. Roses in a pot. This I lifted, I can feel it's gesso. I used clear gesso, thinking, well, maybe if it's clear in the background, I can get more colour in, but of course I can't, because the gesso still resists the dye to an element, so to a degree. So I've got, the golden has held a bit in the background. This was clear, but not as much as it would do if I had a properly clear background. I hope that makes sense. It will if you watch other people's videos on layering on the jelly plate. We've looked at that one, haven't we? And this is another one done with that image, with the roses and the pot, not layered up. I've layered this on the paper rather than on the jelly plate, and I think that's beautiful. The dye goes through randomly, so that you get lots of patches of different different levels of colour and pattern, and it gives it lots of textures. I'm really happy with that one. Another one with the roses and a pot. I possibly need to bring the roses in front of this pot a little bit. I've put the pot on afterwards, I think, and it's covered the roses, which isn't, not that this is a realistic picture, but it'd be more realistic if the roses were tucking over the front of the pot. But so, and there's definitely, I could just work into that one. And then there's these ones where I've just done pots onto my paper, which I think looks really nice as well, and I've put patterns on them. These have been built up on the paper. So the jelly plate, I've got a bit of brayer marking in the background, and I've used stencils on the jelly plate with masks to make some really nice patterns on these pots. So that one's got spotty pots, which I think look lovely. There's another one here that's got spotty pots and some lovely pots with roses on the front. I love this one. This one here, this blue one with the rose, and it's just happened to get a shot of really light colour in the background. But that's one I could build on top of that, I think. I can either use this as a whole piece and mount it on something else and start adding to it, or use it as an A3 piece and add to it. I'll have to take that bit off because I've done it on a piece of paper with I don't know, actually, I might leave that on. It's rather glorious, isn't it? But that will maybe used whole, or I can cut elements out. That's another one done layered up on the jelly plate. This needs a bit of working into. And then I've got a whole collection of pots, leaves and jugs that I'm going to use to work onto the plate. So I've got this lovely jug. It doesn't look much at the moment, but when I cut this out, I will have a beautiful element to use. So for instance, you know, I might take it, cut that out, and here I've got a leaf, and I might set that into that pot, cut the leaf out, and then I've got the elements around them to use with that collage as well, and make myself some really beautiful collages. I'm very excited about these. Can't wait actually to get stuck into them. You know, some flowers to go in, and some background that I've built up on the rest of that sheet, because that could make a lovely background. Well, for those actually, or for ones like this, you know, I could use that background, put that pot on, maybe add those leaves. That would be all very exciting. This is a line of pots with the leaves in them, which I think looks really nice as well. Love that as well. I might cut elements out of this. I'm not sure. What I like to do is just build up lots of options when I'm thinking about collaging. I'm loving that pot with the big fat spots on. That will be a really nice one to use. More leaves. They're on a variety of papers here. I've got layout paper, as ever. Beautiful collage in paper and lovely to stitch. Some of these I might stitch, some I definitely won't be stitching. So I think what I'll end up is with a mix of work, some stitched, some not, some just collage. But I've been doing here on this one and on the next one, I've just been doing leaves. So I've done separate leaves, and these again are masks that I've used on the jelly plate, so I get lots of texture in them. And then I put a bit of stenciling in the background to make the paper more interesting, and then I can cut out these leaves and use them to collage branches. Same here, so that's leaves in blue and green. This is leaves in fig, I think it's fig and aubergine I've used, and lavender on there by the looks of it. Loving this this palette of colours as well, and this is quite unusual for me. I'm just looking at it. It's purple, green, orange, really, which is a mid-century. It's come from the and blacks and whites. It has come from my mid-century research, but I'm just loving it. It's a secondary triad, and it's going to look fabulous. You see, look at that beautiful branch of leaves there in orange. They're going to have orange backgrounds, and look at that jug. You know, they could have been made to go together. There's a beautiful background jug. Again, this is done on the jelly plate. You can see the jelly plate shape. I was using my sort of A4 size jelly plate here. There was a bit of brayer mark in the background of my paper, not on the jelly plate. And then on the jelly plate, I've used a jug and I've used a foam stamp around it. And I've used a mask of a jug, and then through the mask I've put some stencil spots, and it's given me that lovely image. And I can see that something like that cut out and stuck in there, and actually even with just the background, it's just going to make a beautiful piece of artwork. So I love to have stuff like this, loads of possibilities. I love some of these jugs, these pots rather, these pots. They're not so easy to see until I cut them out, but here's a couple here. Look, you can see a couple of pot shapes, and they've got shell and fish shapes in them, which I think is going to make some really quirky collages. There's another couple over there. They're not as clear, they're a bit lighter, but I can see them. Cut them out. More pots. These images are taken from vintage fabrics and from vintage pottery, which I've sat and worked on in my sketchbook, got myself some ideas and designs, and then I'm off. This one is just, I think, just some off prints of dirty stencils that I've put into this sheet and over dyed, but of course it's in my colour palette, so I can cut a pot out of this if I want to and use it in my collage. I use it for background. More pots, more individual leaves. Oh, that's another one done with a build-up of images on the jelly plate. That pot of roses, and see how much better it looks when I've got the rose in the foreground rather than the background. That actually could work as an image just as it is. There's a couple here that are just jelly paper, because that gives me the option of an element of transparency when I'm collaging. So I could take those leaves and put them in with those roses, and they would become semi-transparent, and I could add that border if I wanted to, and that would become semi-transparent too. You know, so that's probably not the right size thing to do it with, but you can see the imagery coming through. So I've only done a couple actually on plain jelly. I may do some more of those. I think I got a bit carried away when I was over dyeing. I was just having such a nice time. These are just sheets that I was using to catch the dye. My flip chart pad got so soaked with dye because I've done such a lot of these. I needed to put some extra sheets in just so that my colours didn't mix. And some of these, like that, I think that's absolutely beautiful. You know, some areas from here I think would be beautiful for collaging. These are rubbings, actually. These aren't jelly plate, but I'll show you them anyway because they're in my stash. These are when I first made the masks, and I just took some quick rubbings of them before I used them. Very effective Neocolor 1 crayons, which resist wet media. So Neocolor 1 crayon rubbings, and I've used some blocks, some wooden blocks in the background to put some pattern in there, and then I've just over-dyed all of that. I think that's in, looks like cornflower and midnight blue to me. And then there's more pots on there. It's not very, again, these are quite knocked back, but when I cut them all out, I might do a quick video when I've cut things out so that you can see. Sorry about that noise, that's Milo just, something's arrived at the door. That's the lurcher. More pots, more pots. These are very gentle, but that's fine. These are collage. That was a nice one where I've layered the elements on the jelly plate and I've pulled it off with orange instead of white, which has made a really nice background for that, but it does need working into, in my view anyway. Just some more prints of pots. These were just using masks and just pulling lots of different prints of pots, lots of pots. I might need more flowers looking at this. I've got lots of pots. Oh, there's some leaves on here, look, that I can cut out and use as part of my collage. And more pots on cartridge paper. So I've got cartridge paper, layout paper, and sorry about that, start again. And more pots. So I've got, these are on cartridge paper. So I've got cartridge paper, layout paper and deli paper here, and some copier paper, because for collage, all of those are fine. The layout paper, the ones and deli that I would use if I'm going to stitch them. So just see if there's anything else particularly interesting in here. They're all interesting to me. And I might come in under 20 minutes here, which is amazing, just quite amazing. So some more pots, more leaves, which are beautiful. Another, oh, that's a lovely background pot to use, isn't it? I'm going to enjoy using that one. Pots, backgrounds, anything else here? And that was built up on the jelly plate and pulled off with, it looks as though I've pulled it off with black. And that's really nice, actually, because the black has some gaps in it where the bright orange dye has gone through. I think that looks glorious. And more leaves. And I have got quite a lot of leaves to make plants. More leaves. Pot, that's a beauty. I'm loving that. I loved that curvy pot. That was an image that I drew looking at one of my vintage fabrics, particularly nice one. More flowers that I can cut out and apply, or I could cut out a pot and just apply it to the background here and leave that background there. Completely up to me how I do these. I am just, as I'm going through them, I'm getting excited, thinking, oh, I definitely want to get playing with these. More leaves. I don't think there's anything different here now. I think we just carry on with lots more pots, lots more leaves, more pots. That's cracking pot. Totally made up by the die here, that pot. You know, so the print is in off the jelly plate, just a plain print with masks, nothing fancy. And then the pot has been made by putting dye through that and making this gorgeous. I particularly like that one. That's two-tone. I've got an ombre pot there. And as you can see, I've got a lot. I don't believe in sort of starting with a few and not giving myself plenty of choices. I've got loads and loads and loads of choices here. Just all more and more of the same. I don't think I've got any more of those. I love that one. I really like that pot. I think that's a beaut. And I love this. This is on deli paper. So you can see with the deli paper, can you see the translucency in that? The light's coming through from the window here. And this will show some imagery behind. I don't know if it'll show on camera, but if I put these leaves over those spots, the spots do slightly show through the leaf. They still will, because this is basically transparent red, but I'm loving those images. They're really beautiful. There's a few here on deli that I did over dye them because they just looked so glorious over dyed. This is another line of pots with some leaves in them. So I've got a fabulous pile of collage papers there that I'm going to use to start designing some collages, some which might get mounted up, some which might just stay as they are, some which might get stitched into, and some may just go into sketchbooks. I don't really know, but I like having a good pile of material to work with. So I hope that's been interesting, and I'll see you again soon. Bye now.